Ali, back in studio, give us a little bit about the context in which this election is being held today.
I think this election can be characterized as a battle of historical legacies rather than of different policies. So the opposition parties, that of Carlos Mesa and Oscar Ortiz, have not presented policies that contravene Morales and key issues such as nationalization, such as the health system. Where the battleground really is over the historical legacies of different candidates. So Mesa is a former president during the neoliberal period when there was really an economic collapse under his watch. So the mass is attacking him on his record in government. The opposition is attacking Morales for the wider historical legacy he represents as the first indigenous president in power, as a socialist, as a union leader, rather than criticising specific key policies which they know are popular and they're not prepared to attack him over. They're more going for wider issues of who he is, of international alliances, just as Morales is attacking the opposition on their failure in the past to develop the economy, to significantly reduce poverty, which was the highest in Latin America during the neoliberal period.
Do you think this approach by Evo Morales and the government against Carlos Mesa has been successful? Everything I've heard has been, up until this point, before the election period, very negative about Mesa, and all of a sudden there's this big push for the opposition.
Yes, that's right. And Mesa, his candidacy was a failure of the opposition to present a new face. And he governed for just 2 years before being overthrown by social movements led by Evo Morales. His polling has never been above 30% in any credible polls. So he himself is a divisive figure. The fact that he's an old figure rather than a new figure, yeah, as I said, represents a failure of the opposition. And he's not been able to cohere the good deal of the population that is critical of Morales. So the project he represents is not going to be able to build a majority, certainly not in the first round, and they'll find it very difficult to do it in the second round as well.
As we spoke with some of our guests about earlier, we're seeing protests in a number of different countries, especially Chile right now. How do you think that reflects within Bolivia? How are voters viewing these different regional events?
Well, today, in fact, this morning, when Vice President Eduardo Garcia went to vote, he brought this up. He said he asked citizens to remember some of the issues going on in Ecuador, in Chile, as they vote, so that the same thing doesn't happen in Bolivia. And really, Bolivia, prior to Morales being elected, was one of the most unstable, probably the most unstable country in the region, has the most number of presidents, most number of military coups, you know, the most serious economic crises in the period preceding Morales. But now during Morales, you now have the longest period of a single president, of political stability. You now have the longest period of sustained growth and low inflation. And Bolivians are looking to countries such as Argentina, which have long been much wealthier and destinations for migration. And now people in those countries are coming to Bolivia because of crises created in those countries by neoliberal shock therapy, by the return of the IMF that was booted out of Bolivia, by the return of US military bases that have been booted out of Bolivia by President Morales.